I am Andrew Shannon, son of the Chocolate Knox. Politic will be starting soon. But while we wait, enjoy this clip from the pub.
All right, so if we want to be elite, then we're going to have to see things that other people miss. And you say, well, Jason, how am I going to do that? Well, there are frameworks, there are tools, there are ways to look at our business that can be really helpful in seeing what other people miss. We need to identify outliers and opportunities. And so think about it like investigators. When they come onto the scene, let's say a crime scene, or they come into a solution situation they're trying to fix, they've got tools, they've got frameworks, they've got instruments that they use to help them say, here's this, here's that. Well, wait, where's that? You got to be intellectually curious if you're going to play in the elite game. Everybody wants a secret to success. They're not secrets. They're there to be seen. It's just, how do I see it? How did you see it? How did he see it? How did she see it? Well, we're going to talk about that. You got to go granular, right, in the business or in the problem to dig out the pearls and the tips. And so concept selling, as opposed to like Me Too selling, you got to get comfortable with ambiguity. You got to be comfortable with white space. What I mean by that is there's a big whiteboard here and nobody has written on it before. You're the one who's going to get to figure it out, write it up, explain it to other people. You are walking into a situation, you're walking into a future that doesn't exist yet. And so you're going to be asking one question all the time. What if you could? What if it's true? You're going to be breaking new ground. You're going to be trying new things that nobody else has done or tried yet. And so you got to get really comfortable with that. Let me also make clear that we are not features and benefits selling, okay? We are concept selling. This thing right here, this is a concept. I used to need a computer. I used to need a phone. I used to need a GPS. I used to need a video camera. It's all right here. This is a concept of a future that didn't exist at one time. And somebody came along and said, well, what if you could? Well, you got to do the same thing. There's a book out there called Abundance, and the subtitle is The Future is Better Than You Think. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to get a bunch of people, or we've got to get a customer to believe that the future is better, that the world is getting better all the time. One of the examples I like to use is the story of Roger Bannister. He was the Englishman who broke the 4-minute mile, something that people thought was humanly impossible. Now, the thing to remember about that is that now the 4-minute mile is the standard. What somebody thought was humanly impossible is now the standard, and it's going to be the same for us. What people don't think is possible today, tomorrow it's going to be the standard, and we're going to have to take our game to the next level. You're familiar with computers, you're familiar with a mouse, where you can click onto a file and it opens up. And usually there's more files in there, and you click on that file and it opens up, and there's more content in there and you click on and it opens up. We've got to get really good at what I call double clicking. You're talking to somebody, you're having a conversation, and your listening skills are such that when they say something in response to your question, you don't ask a new question, a new line of thinking. You're double clicking on what they gave you. You just ask a question that opened a folder, and now they have to give you an answer, and don't move on. Double click on what they gave you. Go deeper in there. So I hope you understand the analogy. I hope it works for you, but you have to listen. And whatever they give you, you have to drill into. 20 questions is the kiss of death. Nobody enjoys 20 questions. Let me put it bluntly to you. If you come in with a pre-call plan, if you come into a meeting with a list of questions that you want to ask, and you ask those for 20 minutes, that other person on the other end got no value out of that. You got all the value. You ask all the questions, they gave you all the answers, you got all the value, and now they're looking at their watch going, how much longer is this going to take? That's the kiss of death. So let me invite you to think of it this way. I have 2 analogies, 2 pictures I want you to put in your head. If you come in with a list of questions, and you should have a list of questions that you want or you think are valuable. But if you were to go right down the list, question 1, question 2, right? Tell me about this, answer. Tell me about that, answer. Well, tell me about this, answer. Think of that like walking down a hallway in a hotel room where there's doors, right? And you're just going down the hallway and you open the first door, but you don't go in. You go on to the next door and you open that. but you don't go in. And you keep going down this hallway, and you keep opening up these doors, and now you're at the end of the hallway. Now what? What I've seen is right about then in a sales environment, that person goes right to features and benefits because they actually have nothing to go on. Let me give you a second analogy. What if you were to double click? What if instead of walking down a hotel hallway, you're walking up to a mansion? And sure enough, the owner of the mansion greets you at the door, and you have this introduction and this exchange, and you walk in, and there's this grand entry, and there's this beautiful staircase. You don't know the rooms in this mansion. They do. And you ask a question. They go, well, since you said that, since you asked me that, here, let me show you this. And they take you into this other room. And you ask about it. You know what? Based on that question, let me show you. Oh, no. To answer that question, I need to take you to this other room. If you let them guide you, if you drill down into what they're giving you, you will get to where you want to go faster. And you'll get to go places you've never known you wanted to go because you don't know the mansion. You don't know the layout. They do. So you got to be real careful with pre-call planning. You got to be real careful with these questions. Yes, you have to plan. Yes, you have to have an idea of where you're going. But frankly, you don't know what they know. Double-clicking is how you get to find out what they know.
You sit in church week after week, embracing the truth of God's word. You believe the gospel and claim Jesus Christ as your Lord. Yet you continue to struggle with pornography. You feel like a hypocrite, returning to the sin you hate that mocks the God you love. You desperately wonder, is lasting freedom even possible? Yes, you can overcome pornography, but not alone. 2 Timothy 2:22 says, "Now flee from youthful lusts and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace with those who call on the Lord from a pure heart. Only by repeatedly running from sin to Christ with other believers can you hope to enjoy lasting freedom." You can live with purity and integrity. Take courage, seek accountability, and do whatever is necessary. Get equipped at accountable2you.com.
Really?
Hey, yo! Where's my mic?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, I just changed my ears a little bit. Just my ears. Yeah. I got it. Hey, y'all, welcome to Cross Politic on the Fight Lab Feast Network. Do you need yours turned up too? A little bit? Okay, is that good? All right, there you go. We're fine-tuning the studio as we're going live right now because our brother Knox is working hard. So hopefully you guys, accept us as the proper host for the providence that God has established today. Cross Politic, the B team. Are we the B team without Knox? Is that really what it is?
I feel like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, we're 5 weeks out. I think we're 5.5 weeks out, basically.
Oh, from Fight Lab Feast.
From Fight Lab Feast.
Oh,
time's ticking down. October's a little longer month, so it might be 6 weeks still. Out from the Fight Lab Feast conference. Looking forward to it. We actually got a really cool, some very cool things happening. We actually have a sponsor this year for the singles get together.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, kind of fun.
Watch out, singles.
One of the dads was like, I will sponsor it this year.
Whoa.
And then I will be at the door if any dumb guys walk in.
Hey, that's a good deal.
Yeah, it's a good deal. So we got a sponsor.
Win-win.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Absolutely.
So pretty exciting. Looking forward to the Fight Lab Feast conference. You guys haven't gotten tickets yet. Go to prodigalamerica.com to sign up. There's still a little bit of availability for some vending spots, some booth spots.
Well, there you go.
And there's still a little bit of availability. Oh, don't forget the Pre-Business Makers Conference, which is Thursday afternoon from 1 to 5. Darren Doan speaking, Isaac Bakken speaking, Kevin Freeman from Economic War Room is speaking. So make sure you guys sign up for it all. It's going to be a full time and a fun time while we're out there.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. The mission of Armored Republic is to honor Christ by equipping free men with tools of liberty necessary to preserve God-given rights. In the Armored Republic, there's no king but Christ. We're free craftsmen. Body armor is a tool of liberty. We create tools of liberty. Free men must remain ever vigilant against tyranny wherever it appears. God has given us the tools of liberty needed to defend the rights he bestowed to us. Armored Republic is honored to offer you those tools. So visit them at ar500armor.com. That's the letters AR, the number 500armor.com. Still really quiet in my ears.
I know. I'm making sure it just seem a little lower right now.
Yeah,
so, and we got some people saying that your mic was a little low. We're working on it.
It's still really low. I can't hear.
We're fine. You can't hear anything.
I can't hear myself.
Is that working?
No, nothing.
All right.
Hey!
There we go.
All
Okay.
Right. Okay. Turn it. Woo.
Wrong one.
Just turning up that one over there. You can turn it back down a little bit.
Okay.
Now. I'm like yelling at myself.
There you go. Is that better?
I don't know. I don't know if that's any better for anybody else on the internets, but
yeah, check it out.
Let's try another ad and see if this one works better. Did you know that optimizing both body and mind will support spiritual growth and can help strengthen the foundations of church, family, and community? That's nice. It's easy for both the hardcore gym rat and the chair-bound book lover to miss the holistic nature found in wellness of body, mind, and soul. At Mount Athos Performance, we understand that true health integrates physical, mental, and spiritual excellence. Our product line is crafted with purity and sustainability and is designed to fuel your active lifestyle and your pursuit of excellence. Ascend the mountain with Mount Athos Performance. Visit athosperform.com/FLF and use code FLF25 for an exclusive discount. Join us in creating the next generation of health, strength, and spiritual vitality. You're still working on it over there, huh?
I think I'm getting better at it. I don't know.
You don't know what you're doing.
There's buttons, and I'm
Knox.
So this last week, since Kamala stumbled her way into running for president.
Pause real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. The most important thing that happened this last week is that God's people gathered and worshiped him
on Sunday. Amen.
Just for the record, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff that, relatively speaking, was like little teeny tiny squirrels chirping at the bottom of Mount Zion. And some of them said some stupid stuff in squirrel language. And we're gonna talk about that today. But just remember the context. CNN and Fox and even the Daily Wire and other places like this are going to act like the things that we're going to show you now are the most important things that happened.
And they affect everything.
And they aren't.
Yeah, that's right.
They aren't.
Yep.
The most important thing that happened this last week was God's people gathered on the Lord's Day, and they humbled themselves before their maker, and they worshiped him. They heard his word proclaimed. They sat at his table. They celebrated the death and resurrection of Jesus.
Yeah.
All things being made new. They were in fellowship. They confessed sins. They forgave one another. They went home and they rested.
That's right.
Because they're free people and their king reigns. And so they could just, lay on a couch for an afternoon.
And I did. And it felt so good.
And they ate barbecue and they smoked cigars.
That's right.
And they had glasses of wine.
I did all that.
And they played with their kids.
I didn't invite you over.
I know. It's because we did it at my house. and I just want to preface everything. That's the most important thing.
Amen.
That happened this last week. That's what's making this world a new place, a better place. But yeah, there's some squirrels that have been chattering at the bottom of the mountain. Like one of them's named Kamala,
and the other one's Trump.
All right. So what did the squirrels say?
So, I thought it was interesting because, John Fetterman, who since he's had a stroke has actually said some sane things, and maybe he should have had a stroke a long time ago.
God tells the best stories.
I know.
God tells the best stories.
It's like John Fetterman was this donkey, and then he gave him a stroke, and now he's actually talking sanely a little bit.
He's becoming more and more human.
Yeah. So here's John Fetterman actually talking about Trump's assassination attempt in Pennsylvania, the one that happened in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
She's an amazing candidate overall, but I would also remind you that Secretary Clinton was fantastic, perhaps the most supremely accomplished kinds of candidate that I can ever remember, and see what happens. And Trump has created a special kind of a hold within the corner, and he's remade the party, and he has a special kind of place in Pennsylvania. And I think that only deepened after that first assassination attempt.
Okay.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
I would think a lot of Pennsylvanians have maybe gained sympathies
right.
towards President Trump, who are maybe against him and now for him, because the assassination attempt particularly happened in Pennsylvania.
He's still not talking complete sense about Kamala and Clinton.
No.
But
they're accomplished women.
Yeah, they're very fantastic and wonderful people. But Trump's also special and wonderful and accomplished, and a special place in our heart because of the assassination attempt. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, he just I think he's said some very conservative things in the last couple months. I don't think he's supporting Trump at all, voting for Trump and everything, but he's definitely I think, a different kind of figure since
he's a different kind of Democrat.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, again.
Well, he's a more of a blue collar.
Yeah.
Well, actually, he comes from a rich family.
Okay. Yeah.
So
even though he was playing that blue collar,
the hoodie
card.
and the hoodie card.
But think about, the vitriol, especially in the media, but also, among, we've read those. You played that clip last week, and then I read you collected. I think it was the Trump
all the different
campaign. He's an existential threat. He's a threat to our democracy. He must be eliminated. He's got to be taken out. And so that's a very, very different kind of Democrat. And that's like old school Democrat, which is like, he's a remarkable person.
Right.
I just disagree with him in some areas, but very respectable. I mean, like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago,
they all would say
that was the kind of banter that Republicans and Democrats had, even where they differed on significant policy issues. There was a lot more respect in the dialogue and the rhetoric, whereas it's become so filled with so much vitriol and like, this is the end of the world, and our republic is over, our nation is over if he's reelected. And then they're sort of shocked and surprised when some wackos grab their guns and the Secret Service helps them set up a ladder so that they can get on top of the roof in order to take pot shots at the president.
Right. So, and I think Megyn Kelly was on this All In podcast. I think it was called Jason Calacanis. Of the All In podcast. One of the things that's been happening so much recently, I mean, like, it seems like it couldn't get any more egregious how much either the media lies or how much they weaponize the politics of a campaign. And of course, you saw the ABC, we walked through that, the ABC debate where they only fact checked Trump.
Right.
They wouldn't fact check Kamala Harris.
Kamala was even able to use that whole, like, they're great people on both sides thing. It's been like debunked. It's been debunked by Snopes that he was, and we watched the clip, and he's like, I'm not talking about the crazy people. I'm talking about the people that were just there because they didn't want was it Stonewall Jackson or Robert E. Lee or one of the statues. One of the statues removed. They just thought of it as their heritage, and they didn't want to take it down. Those were the fine folks on both sides. Right. It's been completely debunked. They use it again. It's weaponized. It's weaponized.
And particularly Kamala Harris, she's pulling her whole attorney general card, her whole lawyer card.
Right.
And she keeps saying, I locked up criminals for, X amount of years. And so when I get in the White House, I'm going to lock up Trump. Or I know how to handle guys like Trump because I locked him up for so long.
Right.
Well, I thought this was Megyn Kelly. Actually, I think she has a legal background too.
Right.
And I think she gave one of the most succinct responses to all the lawfare that's been going on with Trump. She goes through the 5
major accusations
and cases that have gone on. And so this is a little longer clip, but I thought it was really helpful kind of summarizing the Trump lawfare.
You think it's all lawfare?
Jean Carroll, they changed the law so that she could bring a civil lawsuit against him, and she did. New York went 87% for Joe Biden. That fix was in right from the start. The fraud trial that Letitia James brought against him has never been brought. There's no victims. The banks who were involved said, we didn't lose a penny. What are we doing here? We weren't damaged. Nobody was complaining except Tish James, who ran for office saying, I will get him. Then you have Alvin Bragg, who's a George Soros-funded prosecutor who doesn't like to prosecute any crime in New York City, where I lived for 17 years, except if your name is Donald Trump. Let's go down to Georgia, where Fani Willis and Nathan Wade couldn't keep their libidos in check long enough to actually bring this case against Donald Trump. It's a repeat of what was happening in January 6th up in the case with Judge Chutkan, who loathes Trump and has sentenced almost every J6 defendant to way more jail time than their counterparts would get. Those are falling apart because of presidential immunity, which was handed down by the Supreme Court, who said you cannot bring a criminal case against a sitting president for any official act. Those cases have been gutted. Also, a Supreme Court ruling saying the same on January 6 defendants in general. And that leaves us with Florida and the documents. And Trump has torn that apart because Jack Smith wasn't properly appointed and isn't the right counsel. But there are other issues. They haven't even gotten to presidential immunity there. And so that one's going nowhere as well. And by the way, they're going to appeal it up to the 11th Circuit. She just threw it out. The 11th Circuit is conservative. And thank God, so is the current Supreme Court. They're not going to tolerate that nonsense.
Ooh. So pretty good summary of the lawfare. Of course, New York, all basically Democrats there anyway. So that makes a lot of sense. And then all the way down to Florida. I mean, of course, we know Biden didn't get the same charge that Trump got with the documents. Right. Same kind of thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. So there's somebody just running through all the cases, pointing out how many of them are so clearly biased.
Yeah.
There's not a shred of objective, like playing fair by the rules. It's people who either clearly have a bias against Trump, are clearly are playing with two different sets of rules depending on who it is. The J6 thing, I mean, again, like compare what's happening to J6 people with BLM rioters or things like that. It's just amazing.
Well, and this is probably one of the hardest fixes in our country right now is actually our court system. Our court system really is a mess, and you're going to get a leftist ruling in New York, and you're going to get a leftist ruling in whatever, and then you're going to, in some conservative states, Washington D.C., you're going to get a J6 ruling that's as Megan points out, way more strict,
or a pro-life
woman going to jail,
protester getting sentenced to prison time.
When we talked about this before, but I went through my court cases here in Idaho. That's what I found out. I found out that our legal system was more left in Idaho.
Yeah.
Like it tracks leftists, and I remember, of course, my judge in our local city was in bed with the prosecutor in the city, and she had actually said disparaging things on the internet about our church before she became a judge.
Oh, man.
So we're, and of course that's deleted off the internet, right?
She didn't recuse herself.
She didn't recuse herself, but even just looking at statewide and looking at the, okay, if I had to appeal it here, it'd go to this judge. If I had to appeal it here, it'd go to the Idaho Supreme Court. It's like our court system in Idaho's kind of left.
Yeah.
And there's only, that's a long-term fix.
Right.
We need more Christian lawyers. We need more Christian
most judges serve lifetime terms or long appointments. So that means it takes even longer to flip them.
Well, Idaho's unique, where the Idaho Bar Association puts forward candidates for the people to vote on.
Oh, interesting.
A judge or a lawyer just can't say, I want to run for judge.
Okay.
He's got to go get the stamp of approval from the Bar Association, and then they can get on the ballot.
Interesting.
And then we just end up voting for the three people they recommend to us.
Interesting.
It's not good.
Right.
So I think the lawfare that Trump's dealing with is bad at a whole nother level. I mean, imagine if one of us was dealing with that lawfare. We don't even have the money to fight that.
Right.
Pretty egregious. So Kamala Harris was on Oprah this last week. But before we kind of turn the corner to Oprah, we're gonna get to the point where she's talking about the economy and everything on Oprah. I mean, she is so hard for me to listen to. Her answers go on, and she basically says nothing.
And you're gonna make us listen to it?
And no, I will cut it off likely. But no, Oprah doesn't even push her. The media, she's only been 6-7 interviews since she started running for president. But the media doesn't even push her on this. But I want to contrast. So here's Trump at one of his rallies. He gets asked a question from a panel that he was answering questions from on the economy. And then we're going to follow up with Oprah asking her, basically, what are you going to do about fixing it? Oh, no, it was a couple on the show asking Kamala questions about the economy. So let's roll the Trump clip, and then it should go right into the Oprah clip.
How are you going to bring down the cost of food and groceries?
We have to start always with energy. It's my ambition to get your energy bill within 12 months down 50%. If I can do that, you've done a hell of a job. 5 not 15, 50. We're going to get interest rates down, and we got to work with our farmers. Our farmers are being decimated right now. And one of the reasons is we allow a lot of farm product into our country. We're going to have to be a little bit like other countries. We're not going to allow so much we're going to let our farmers go to work.
We really would love to know what your plan is to help lower the cost of living.
Yeah, first of all, thank you both for being here. And yours is a story I hear around the country as I travel. And in terms of
I'm from
both
a middle-class family.
Rightly having the right to have aspirations and dreams and ambitions for your family, and working hard and finding that the American dream is, for this generation and so many recently, far more elusive than it's been. And we need to deal with that.
The answer kind of just drones on, and I still haven't listened to the full answer because she just keeps going on.
Right.
She starts off with American dream, doesn't really answer the question.
Yeah.
And she goes on for another, I think, 2 minutes or something on that. It doesn't really say anything.
So Trump gave us an answer that said we need to get energy costs down. He also said that we need to get interest rates down.
Yeah.
And he says we need to help get our farmers back to work. And I think he gets 2.5. I give him 2.5 points.
Yeah.
I don't like the direction he's going with the third one, where he was intimating we get a lot of our products from overseas, and he almost said it sounded like he almost said like we need to cut down on competition.
Yeah.
I think that's what he was about to say.
I think it'd be tariffs. Really, was where he would lean. He would lean towards tariffs.
But that's the thing, where I think I'm maybe slightly open to hearing a case for the occasional use of sort of a very, very targeted tariffs.
Yeah, right.
I'm pretty skeptical.
Yeah, right.
Bonson's nearly got me completely convinced it's just always a bad deal.
Yeah.
But I would say at the very least, like, why competition is good.
Yeah.
Competition is good. The problem is what happens is we have overregulated
That's right.
our farmers.
That's right. Yeah.
What we need to do is lift the regulations, let the free market go. That's all you need to do.
And honestly, if someone had Trump's ear on that, I mean, he's changed his tune with RFK on stuff.
Right.
Right. Oh man, there's a clip of him even talking about being open to changing his tune on Operation Warp Speed. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, I saw.
He basically said there's a study happening right now, and I'll follow wherever the conclusion leads on that study.
Yeah, I saw that interview, and it was an interview.
Yeah, it was an interview
where somebody asked him about it, and someone kind of pushed him on it, and said, and he was even granting the fact that Democrats love the vaccine and Republicans don't.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I still think it's a great thing. I had to do something. I'm proud of it. But he said, but there's studies going on, and over the next 12 months, we'll find out what the truth is.
Yeah.
And I'll reconsider then, or something like that, which is interesting. But
which is I think it just shows that if Trump hears information that he thinks is good, he'll listen to it. That's why RFK, Elon Musk, like there's some guys who could, especially with the deregulation with the farming thing.
Right.
I think if someone's good, and I mean, he, remember his first term, he said this multiple times. He said, it's my first term. I didn't know who was in Washington.
Right.
Now I know. I put all these people in place that I didn't know their names. I didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
I trusted my advisors, and I put them in.
They were all there. Yeah.
Yeah. And it ended up being a lot of bad guys that we put into power. So I think this go around, I think he's going to do a better job putting people in place,
vetting people,
like, and so forth,
checking their records, making sure they're actually good and they're not in bed with the deep state and that kind of thing.
That's right. And so I think they're, regarding like deregulations, I think obviously that's the answer, not tariffs to me.
Right.
We got all the regulations suit the big farmers.
Right.
And so that's why you have, in the last probably 20 years, I wish I actually had hard stats on this, but you have a lot of small farms consolidating with the bigger farms
because they can't compete.
That's right,
because of the regulations. Now, sometimes the small farmers will lose just because they can't do the same products.
Mm-hmm.
But what really crushes the small businesses is all the regulations.
That's
the
right.
regulations that for all the insurance requirements, all the extra inspections, all those regulations.
Well, and the combines, all the new combines have all this environmental stuff. So price is going up, but it's required.
A lot of it's green,
and horsepower is going down.
Yes.
If you, I was looking into a tractor 2 years ago. I got 10 acres, and I was looking at a tractor, and I didn't have the money to buy new, but I was just kind of looking at them. But I kept going back to. I want a tractor like pre-2008 or something, or 7. Pre-Obama, basically, because, and I have a neighbor down the road who's got a brand new Kubota, or newer Kubota now. It's probably 5 years old. It's a 40 horsepower tractor, but it feels like it's about 25 or 30 horsepower. And that's because of all the farmers know this.
Yeah.
There's high demand for the old
They're throttling
diesels.
the energy because of
environmental
green requirements.
That's exactly right. And so this is happening with new diesels. This is happening. My car, I'm kind of going off now on environmental regulations. I just spent a bunch of money fixing my old 2011 Tahoe because the environmental regulations, I forget when this started happening, but highly incentivized trying to get better gas mileage and all that stuff. My Tahoe has that mechanism, that environmental mechanism, where if you're cruising down the road, it goes from 8 cylinders to 4 cylinders. And just driving around the road, and it can kind of go to 4 cylinders and get better gas mileage, supposedly, whatever.
Right.
My lifter, and you got 8 lifters, 8 cylinders. My lifter broke just 2 weeks ago,
right?
Because it throttled down to 4 cylinders and one lifter stuck and it broke.
Okay.
So if those lifters would have been going the whole time, it would have burned the carbon. It wouldn't get sticky. They don't get sticky when the carbon, but over time, if the lifter stops, it'll burn carbon on it and it sticks and so forth. So my car, and I spent thousands of dollars to fix this.
Oh, man.
And I had another friend, and they told me this, like, yeah, that's common with these cars because of that transition from 8 cylinders to 4 cylinders.
Right.
And instead of it's constantly turning, you don't have that same problem. You always have all the parts working together at the same time, and then it damaged my camshaft. I can keep going on. What happened? But
are you kind of sensitive about this?
It was a bad deal. Yeah. But the point is like I had another friend with a Honda. They had the similar problem with their car, but like all this environmental green stuff was never tested and engineered well. It's just response to legislation. So how much more is that happening in this agricultural farm world?
Yeah.
And energy is another good example. That oil. I mean, how much is regulated there?
And that's. But I would just go back again. Compare the two answers. Yeah. Trump says what we need to do to bring the cost of living down is we need to open up energy.
That's right.
Which is deregulating that.
Yeah.
Like let them drill baby drill has been his thing. And I would say that's awesome.
Yep.
We ought to use the resources God has given us. The more supply there is, will drive down the prices of energy. And remember, energy drives almost everything in the economy.
That's
the
right.
ability to transport food, lumber, building supplies.
So he's hitting at almost the root cause of a lot of our high prices, which is really good.
And then interest rates. That's a more complicated matter, but I think if you have a thriving economy, there can be good reason to for interest rates to come down, and then I think deregulating the farmers, allowing the farmers to do the best that they can do, and letting a free market determine prices on that will tend to bring prices down and quality up. But compare that to Kamala, whose first word is
I've heard about that story wherever I go.
And just word salad, as people have said many times. A non-answer. I didn't hear the rest of it. I mean, maybe she eventually came to something substantive, but it was not a great start.
It wasn't worth it. Too legit to quit says here, I actually got a question for you on this. He says, not to mention Bill Gates buying up farmland. So it's not just Bill Gates, but also China buying up farmland. And in a capitalistic world, would you, if you were president of America or whatever, or governor of Idaho, whatever, would you allow people from China, foreigners, to buy up land?
No, my knee-jerk reaction is to say no. I think our
that's invasion almost. Right. It feels like an invasion.
So like China could keep buying up land, and then they could own Nebraska or something like that. It's like, no, that doesn't seem right at all. So I'm inclined to think it's one thing to allow with appropriate vetting. It's one thing to allow foreign businesses to do business in our markets, which I would be generally open to. But not just buying up land. I guess then you have questions about, can Honda own a land and own a factory? But I'd still be inclined to say, no, they can lease some land. Unless you're an American citizen, why would we allow you to
own American property?
Own American property that we're not sure that you're committed to the values of our country.
Right.
You can come, you can rent, you can lease. Decide if you want to stay or not. Again, after appropriate immigration vetting, which we need a lot of. But no, my instinct is to be no. You can't if you're not a citizen. Then ordinarily no, you can't own land here.
Right. My instinct would be to go towards you and what's going on there. I'm just thinking of we wouldn't let's say a guy buy a mountain home up in the ski home or something for a foreigner. We wouldn't let him buy property.
I'm inclined to say no because again, it's one thing to rent some land, it's one thing to lease some land, or start a business and consider okay. I'm willing to let someone have a foot in the door that way.
Right.
But I to own property seems to mean to be that you want to live here permanently, semi-permanently, and I want to know that you want to subscribe to our values.
And what's interesting is our government actually has a pretty vetting process for, Canadians wanting to come and do business here and start their own businesses or investment companies or whatever. They actually vet them and have them go through a bunch of stuff.
It's kind of strenuous.
It's strenuous, which makes a lot of sense and it's good, but it's funny that like we've let the immigration stuff get so messy these last 4 years, 5 years, or 10 years, whatever it was under Obama, and now things are just so muddied and all this. But I would lean very heavily in kind of the direction that you were talking about. All right, so this next video, there's been all sorts of stories coming out of this, and it got picked up before Oprah and Kamala Harris were talking about it. It already started making news and kind of going viral. How long ago did this lady pass away? I think it was like a year. This happened a minute ago, and then the story, just hold up fingers once you got it figured out, and then the story's just now picking up steam. But what happened?
It's the story of there's a woman who had an abortion and then died
and then passed away. And maybe we talk about the story first, because her they're going to bring it in as a sympathy play here.
Of course.
Yeah, 2 years ago. This happened 2 years ago and is just now picking up steam.
Interesting.
So what happened was this gal, she lived in Georgia. She looked like, to me, she's like in her 20s or something like that. Already had one boy, got pregnant, and her boyfriend, I think her and her boyfriend decided to go have an abortion.
Okay.
And they're in Georgia, where it's illegal to have an abortion. In fact, the law says something like it's illegal to use tools to remove a live baby.
Right.
And so she scheduled abortion in North Carolina. That's where it's legal. Okay. She drove up there, an actual medical abortion procedure. That's what she scheduled. Drove up there. They were too busy. They couldn't squeeze her in, so they gave her the abortion pills. And so she popped them in and drove home. Well, apparently after the baby had been murdered, not all of it had come out of the uterus, and so some of the parts were left inside, and basically that's what you get. Well, you get an infection from that.
Yeah, it starts getting infected.
Yeah.
And
so this is where the story gets. So I think everyone largely agrees on those details there.
Is agreed upon.
Yeah, and then she goes to the hospital. And she goes to the hospital, and she ends up not getting surgery in the time that she needed, and she died. Okay. That's where things get super fuzzy.
She's there for like 20 hours. Is that what you said? Okay, so she's in the hospital that time, like waiting for care?
Well, we don't know how long she was waiting in the hospital, so that's a disputed fact.
She said 20 hours.
Well, it was after 20 hours she took the pill, or?
She was, so she's at the
hospital. So
hospital.
She'd been in the hospital about 20 hours. Okay.
And she died.
She died. The doctor said, whatever happened, the doctors, I don't know if he ever refused her, but did say, in Georgia, it is not legal for us to operate with medical devices on a baby.
Right. And was trying to blame the abortion law for his lack of care.
Right.
For this woman who had killed her baby, but was now suffering some of the consequences of that abortion going badly.
So at minimum, the doctor's either lying or trying to cover himself up. Because he could have done surgery because the baby was dead.
Right.
The law states you can't do this on a live baby.
Right.
And everything. And so anyways, they've brought this story out. It's all over the news right now.
Weaponizing another story.
They're weaponizing another story about the sad, Republicans suck because they made abortion illegal in Georgia. And so here's Kamala and Oprah talking with the mom on set at this interview.
After the abortion ban took place in Georgia, made national headlines. Amber's case came to light through the reporting of journalist Kavitha Sarana with ProPublica. And so listen to her story. 2 years ago, 28-year-old Amber Nicole Thurman, a medical assistant and a single mother to a 6-year-old boy, found out she was pregnant. Amber had just secured her own apartment and was thinking about going to nursing school. She made the decision to terminate her pregnancy. A strict abortion ban had recently taken place in her home state of Georgia, which caused Amber to travel to North Carolina for the procedure. Traffic made her miss the appointment, so the clinic gave her medication, what are known as abortion pills. Once back home, Amber experienced profuse bleeding, vomiting, severe pain. She eventually passed out. her boyfriend called for an ambulance.
Boyfriend.
At the Georgia hospital, Amber's condition deteriorated quickly. In a rare occurrence, it was discovered her body had not expelled all the fetal tissue and an infection was spreading. Official Georgia State medical expert analysis of her case says Amber should have received a life-saving D&C, but doctors waited 20 hours before deciding to take her to surgery. Amber's blood pressure had taken a dive. Her organs had started failing. In the operating room, her heart stopped. On the way to surgery, Amber's last words to her mother were, "Promise me you'll take care of my son." Amber's mother, Shanette, and older sisters CJ and Andrika are here, and they wanted to be here tonight to speak out for the first time. Ms. Shanette, what do you want us to know about Amber's story?
Initially, I did not want the public to know my pain. I wanted to go through in silence, but I realized that it was selfish. I want y'all to know Amber was not a statistic. She was loved by a family, a strong family, and we would have done whatever to get my baby, our baby, the help that she needed. When ProPublica came to my home, I pushed them away. No, but Kavithia, she was persistent. She said, it was something that you needed to know. You have to hear me. Women around the world, people around the world need to know that this was preventable. 2 years later, after speaking with my daughters, because I lost strength, I lost hope, you're looking at a mother that is broken. Mm-hmm. The worst pain ever that a mother, that a parent could ever feel. Her father and myself and the family, you're looking at it.
Man.
It's amazing. All the lies that surround that whole thing. And really what's happening with Oprah and Kamala is they're taking advantage of that mother.
Right.
Now the mother needs to think clearly, and all that stuff. But you have, like, if there's any sort of power move and play here, it's Kamala and Oprah taking advantage of this woman and her sadness, super sad story.
Right.
Now her mother didn't raise her daughter well either, so there's all sorts of responsibility there. And where's the dad?
Right.
And then of course, where's the boyfriend? Letting his girlfriend go all the way up, not marrying her. I mean, it's just one big tragedy after another.
Right. And the thing is that she's apparently been convinced that if she just tells the story, that will somehow help.
Yeah.
But it's being weaponized so that this can just keep happening.
That's right.
I mean, that's the irony of it is
more women take more abortion pills and more deaths happen.
Yeah, more deaths happen.
Right.
The babies are dying, but abortion is always lethal.
Yeah.
It's always murder.
Yeah.
But this is probably one of the most covered up aspects of abortion.
Yeah.
Is not only do you have the murder of a living baby, which is violent and vile, but there are scars and medical complications and death that occur because of abortions to the mother that survives. The number of complications, the amount of times that this harms the ability for a woman to ever get pregnant again, the way it harms her body, the way it scars her, not only physically, but emotionally and spiritually. The irony is that what she's being weaponized for is for this to keep going on. She said several things that are deeply ironic, that are worth just underlining. She said, I would do anything for my baby.
Yep. Right. Not which baby.
Right. And it's like deeply ironic. It's like, I know she means her daughter.
Yeah.
But remember, she also had a granddaughter or grandson that was murdered.
Yeah.
With those pills.
Yep.
Would you do anything for your granddaughter?
Yeah.
Anything for your grandson?
Yeah.
Did she know that?
Yeah.
And we'll take the baby, we'll take the granddaughter, we'll take the grandson, we'll do anything for her. Did she know that? Anything for your baby? Apparently not.
Yeah.
Apparently that new apartment and nursing school was going to be more important. Excuse me.
Yeah.
She says, I want to say this. She said, I want everybody to know that this was preventable. Yes.
Yes, it was.
It was preventable. It was preventable by not murdering your baby.
Right.
That's what would have prevented this from happening.
Yeah.
That's what the Georgia law is actually in place to do.
Yeah. To save your daughter from making that decision.
The Georgia law is a big stop sign saying, don't do this. Don't do this. That Georgia law is it's a 6-week ban, which is not fully just.
Yeah. But at least it's
but it's a major flashing red light saying don't do this.
Yeah.
You don't need to do this. This is wrong. This is evil. This is unjust. The last thing is at the very end, she says, this is the worst pain a mother could feel. And I actually want to say to her,
no, it's not.
Well, no, I actually want to agree. I want to say yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. But it started with the pain that your daughter was feeling, having murdered her own baby.
Yeah.
She's experienced the loss of her daughter, which is what every abortion is doing.
Right.
Like, this is the worst pain a mother could feel. Exactly.
Right.
That's why you should never get an abortion.
Yeah.
That's why abortion is never an option. That's why abortion should never be even on the table.
Right.
Because it is one of the worst pains a mother could ever feel. And Kamala and Oprah are up there trying to use this woman's pain so that
they can score some political points.
And so that millions of other women in the country can feel that pain. They're not trying to end that pain. They're trying to multiply that pain.
Yeah.
Last thing, of course, is in all of this, what the reason why this is being brought up is they're trying to blame the Georgia law on this death.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And they're trying to say that here we go. Georgia's pro-life abortion ban literally killed a woman, and she won't be the last. This is an opinion piece at MSNBC. No. There was
that law would have saved her.
Yeah.
It's the exact opposite.
But, my wife and I have had miscarriages, and once the baby has died, sometimes your body doesn't kick in. It doesn't deliver the baby, and so it's medically necessary to begin the process of removing that baby. You try to do it in the most humane and honoring of life way possible, but it does need to come out. The body does need to come out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll cause
infect the mom and kill the mom.
Exactly. And so there was some kind of failure in that hospital, and for the doctor to blame the law, or for this opinion piece to blame the law, is absolutely ludicrous.
That's right.
Absolutely ludicrous. Our producers supplied a definition that's in the Georgia law. Abortion means the act of using, prescribing, or administering any instrument, substance, device, or other means with the purpose to terminate a pregnancy with knowledge that termination will, with reasonable likelihood, cause the death of an unborn child.
That's right.
Okay. That means that the child has to be alive in order for an abortion to occur.
Yeah.
If the child has died, then assisting in the delivery of that baby, or in this case, the remains of a murdered child, that's not an abortion. It is not an abortion. It goes on and says, provided, however, that in any such act should not be considered an abortion if the act is performed with the purpose of A, removing a dead unborn child caused by a spontaneous abortion, which is a medical term for miscarriage. So it died on its own. Or B, removing an ectopic pregnancy, which is one that's not viable. It's lodged in the fallopian tube or somewhere else where the child cannot actually develop. But notice that there's a clause already in here for a dead unborn child.
Right.
And reasoning by analogy, if you have murdered your child and the baby has died by intentional abortion, it is not an abortion to remove the child that has already died.
Right.
But you're going to hear more and more of this. the Democrats want to scare, even some Republicans want to scare people into thinking that that abortion bans somehow limit a mother's ability to get care and a husband's ability to get care for his child that has died. Doctors know the difference between a living and dead child. This is not.
Although my faith in that question is starting to get blurred. They don't know a difference between man or a woman.
I know. But they really have no excuse. They really have no excuse. Now, I mean, you've heard me tell the story on the show multiple times that we've had doctors strongly urge us to consider abortion.
When you and Jenny had that pregnancy.
When we had a twin pregnancy and one of the twins died.
Yeah.
And the living child, we were told, was probably going to die.
Yeah.
My daughter is now a healthy 16-year-old junior in high school. But they told us in the hospital that whatever killed the one baby, her twin, is probably going to kill your living daughter. We had a heart specialist come in, look at her heart on it. We had big theaters, picture of her heart beating, and the heart doctor says she's got a great heart. And then our fetal specialist came right back in and said, "But are you sure you don't want to abort her because she's probably going to die and have all kinds of problems?" And oh my goodness gracious, look at her heart, it's just beating, and she's moving, she's wiggling around in there, and you want to kill her. Absolutely not. But there's we need to make sure that this is the kind of thing that staunch pro-life Republicans, this ought to be the thing. This ought to be one of the things that we push back on hard.
Yeah, right.
This is not something to ignore. J.D. Vance, Trump, every pro-life Republican ought to be pulling this up and saying they are wicked.
That's right.
They're distorting reality. They are weaponizing this mother's grief. And what they want is women all over this country suffering from that grief.
Right.
They want mothers suffering from this grief by losing their own babies that they've killed themselves, and for countless other grandmothers to lose their own grandbabies and their own children.
I was just thinking, this is actually, I need to run that video by my kids. This is a really important teaching moment, and you need to dissect that video.
That's good, Gabe.
Because there's layers here, and it starts with the father of this daughter. Where's the father in that? We don't know.
Yeah.
But we do know fatherlessness, bastardization, in the end will bring violence and death.
That's right.
And so we're there. Right. And then secondly, if you watch through the video and how they emotional they make it. Oprah Winfrey's doing the voiceover on the video. It's all very quiet in the room.
Right.
They're letting the mom talk. They know it's a hard moment for her.
Yeah.
Other women, they're panning around in the room to other women, wiping tears away from their eyes. And they're trying to grip your heart. And if you don't have the truth of God's word, anchored in your heart, you're going to be driven about. You're going to be driven about by the wind and tossed on the sea.
Right.
And these are manipulation tactics that work on a people who don't have truth.
That's right. This is what Joe Rigney calls emotional sabotage. This is one of the means by which people are trying to grab you by the feels rather than the truth. And I think that's a really good point, Gabe. This is a great teaching moment. This is a moment to use this again. That's my whole point with the Republic. Like pro-life Republicans ought to see this as an opportunity.
That's right.
Don't back away from this. This is a moment to jump up and down and be like, you want to talk about this? Let's talk about this. Because I care about that mother. And because I want her to have actual peace. We've got to tell the truth. This was preventable. This is preventable by not having an abortion. This is preventable by her boyfriend who got her pregnant, the father of that child, taking responsibility for his child and saying, you don't need to do this, babe. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to marry you, and I'm going to provide for you.
That's right.
The father of this girl should have been stepping in and saying, I will do whatever it takes, honey. You don't need to do this. I will provide for you. I will take care of you. I will protect you and your child. This is some of the worst pain a mother can feel, and that's why abortion should be illegal in the whole country. This is why abortion should be unthinkable, because we don't, this is awful.
I mean, even step into the moment of this story. That girl gets pregnant, and she thinks the solution is to kill it. So she goes up to North Carolina, gets the medication to kill it, drives back. She killed the baby. And then now everyone's blaming her death on this heartbeat bill
Georgia law.
It's like, no. She killed her baby. That's what started this whole thing.
Right.
It was the cascading decision from her that put her in this position.
If we're going to blame anybody, it should be North Carolina.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to blame a state and their laws.
I mean, let's follow COVID logic. Let's take COVID logic and apply it to this.
Right.
You went to the store, you got COVID, you killed your mom.
Right.
Like, we can't do that with abortion, but we can do that with COVID and the vaccine and all that stuff.
Right. You weren't wearing a mask. You weren't standing 6 feet apart. You didn't get the jab.
You killed grandma.
Yeah, right. So there's a when progressives really care about something, they believe in personal responsibility, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You make me feel bad.
Yeah.
But when they want to protect evil, then they make it about these systems and these programs and these laws, and it's completely depersonalized. But remember, I sometimes call this the dignity of guilt.
Yeah.
One of the things that we want to remember is that one of the ways that God most honors his image in human beings is by dignifying us with the guilt of our actions.
Right.
It's hard. It's shameful. We don't like that.
Right.
But when God says, no, you made that choice, you said those words, you performed that action, you did that sin, what he's doing is actually saying, you matter.
Yeah.
What you did was awful. What you did was sin. What you did was a failure. But he's actually saying you matter. But when we deflect and we say it's everyone else's fault, then we're actually saying you don't matter. Your actions don't matter. And then we wonder why people think I don't matter.
Right.
But God comes and he dignifies us with guilt so that we might repent.
Yeah.
So that we might be healed. So that we might be forgiven. So that we might walk in the light because we matter. We're made in his image. We're redeemed.
That's right.
In Christ, and that means that our actions matter. And so in the same way that your sin can do great harm, your repentance and your obedience can do great good.
Yeah.
Because you're made in the image of the living God, and in Christ you have his Holy Spirit, and now your actions are potent for good, not for evil anymore. Then, well, there you go.
That's great, Toby.
Little news wrap up. Don't forget, I said this at the beginning of the show. This is crazy.
Yeah.
We live in crazy times.
Yeah.
But these are like squirrels getting kind of worked up about the nuts at the bottom of the mountain. The most important thing you did this week was worship the living God.
Amen.
The most important thing maybe you're going to do today is sit around a dinner table with your family. You're going to laugh with them. You're going to share good food with them. You're going to tell stories about the day. The most important things that are going to happen in your home. They're going to happen with your people. They're going to happen with in fellowship with like-minded Christians. That's the most important thing that's happening in this world right now. These things matter, but not that much. This is where the action is with your kids, is with your wife, is with your husband. It's in your small group. It's around a table, reading the Bible, praying together, singing together.
Worshiping with your family changes the world. That's how God acts.
That's the real news of the day. That's the real thing. The real thing that happened today is Jesus is on the throne, reigning. And his people are growing in grace and holiness and godliness. They're repenting of sin and they're walking in the light. That's what happened today. And that's what's making all the difference.
For those of you who noticed, we are on Mondays now adjusting our time just a little bit to stream live at 2 p.m. Pacific time. That's what we did today. It's what we plan on moving forward is Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And of course, we're still streaming live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 4:15 Pacific time. Now, this week we got quite the lineup for you. Tomorrow we got David Reese and William Wolf debating on Exodus 18. That should be pretty fun.
Applying Exodus 18, the standards for godly
voting.
rulers.
Should we vote for Trump or not, basically?
And how does that map onto who we vote for?
Yeah, and that's
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then on Wednesday, you mentioned this so many times, and I was like, man, I got to get that guy. So I'm getting that guy.
The guy, I don't know. I mentioned lots of guys.
I know. So we're interviewing Gary Stewart, who wrote the book
Justifying
Revolution. Yeah. So excited about that.
The book I couldn't remember the title to.
Yeah. And then we got Paul Miller coming on to talk about kind of Christian nationalism and mere Christianity.
He's a critic.
Yeah.
He's a critic of Christian nationalism. And he's coming to town. He'll be in the studio on Thursday.
Yeah. So packed out Tuesday through Thursday week. It's going to be exciting. We hope to see you guys.
Buckle up and sign up. Sign up for the conference. ProdigalAmerica.com. Join the pub. Our club members make this happen every day.
That's right. Can't do it without you, and and can't bring Knox back without you. I don't know. That's too much, probably. Hey, if you're single, get married. If you're single, get married.
If you're married, have kids.
If you're married, have kids. If you have kids, go baptize them until tomorrow. Till tomorrow. My mind got stuck. Love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbors yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politics.
Legacy media is falling apart, and as it crumbles, a void is opening, a void that we intend to fill. The big legacy news networks currently average just 1.2 million viewers a weeknight, and those numbers are only going to get lower. Legacy media is dying, and the younger generation has moved on. Legacy media panders. Legacy media lies. Legacy media does not know what the truth is, and they don't care about it. Legacy media is a dumpster fire. This is why we few in our wild imaginations have started the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Our goal is to take down the legacy media giant of the last 50 years with our 5 stones. We started in 2016 with our flagship show, Politic. Since those small beginnings, we now air on DirecTV. Our broader podcast network now gets over 4 million downloads a year. And our Fight Laugh Feast pub, which includes TV shows like This America, The Rowdy Christian's Guide, Pastors in Politics, and As the Lord Pleases, with your support, many more to come. Our goal is to become the flagship new media 2.0 network over the next 50 years and take over nightly news, sports, sitcoms, hunting shows, and more, all conveniently stored for you in our Fight Laugh Feast pub. We're already reaching the next generation through our podcast shows on YouTube, X, and our pub, while also tapping into legacy media audiences by airing our shows on TV through DirecTV and Xfinity. We have made a lot of progress with some duct tape and a good bit of intuition and a lot of sweat. And now we need your support more than ever. The TV networks have had such a negative impact on our households, and we're trying, by the grace of God, to put a stop to that. We have the opportunity. We just need the army. Now more than ever, we need you to join our pub to help us reach our goal of 1 million pub supporters in the next 5 years. There's no way around it. Competing with Fox and the Alphabet networks without money is virtually impossible. It's cheap for you to join. And when you do, you're combining your small monthly support with a growing army of like-minded Christians. We have thousands, we need millions. So if you want more of the Alphabet network's misinformation and lies, don't join. But if you want to give us a mere 5 stones, then please join the pub, and together we will take a swing at the head of big media, all the while fighting, laughing, and feasting to the glory of God.